Now, see, this is what I would like to call, let me make this public, the starter deck cell. And the reason why I say this is because if you ever wanted to run the cell chain and get the Android support, because this is exactly what I'm going through. If you ever wonder about my deck profiles, if I ever make one, it's most likely because I'm running them myself. This is exactly what you're going to be doing, and I think this is a good, well-rounded Android / hand destruction deck combination in general. And there's a lot of ways. Before I go into this, there's a lot of ways that you can use a cell leader, more efficient ways, different ways. You can splash red in it, you can splash blue in it. And this is just so you can get it started and see what works for you, basically, because this to me is super fun. And not only that, it is just like a little story. The first pack that I ever opened when starting to play this game was the SPR cell that I just flashed up here, or the video I just flashed. And ever since then, after reading his effect, I was like, I need to play this, man. I need to play this, man. So let me go ahead and break down the leader, the cards I've chosen, and the best main way to kind of use this deck. So the first one, of course, is going to be Cell, right? Cell, on the Unawakened side, you place one card underneath him and you get to KO somebody 3 or less on the opponent's side. So pretty good control, board control, and as well as just an annoying threat, because when people start playing their one drop searchers or 2 or 3 Kale or Cauliflas or whatever it may be, even the Kabas, since they don't have barrier, it's gonna go ahead and take them out early in. And the flip side, maybe I can go over here to the flip side, and that one's basically if you place one card underneath from your hand to the card. If you place one card from your hand underneath that card, you draw 2, and you place 2 from the card into the drop area, you KO any battle card on the opponent's side. Does not matter as far as the energy. So that is pretty legit. And as I understand it, pre-CROSSWORLDS, pre-set 3, Cell was the guy. Cell was the guy to mess up your life, basically. Not theoretically, not in game, but your life itself. And I can see why. He was just kind of dominant. But post CROSSWORLDS, there's a lot of good options and good support that I'm using in here, and it just kind of works out just as a mono green. And I'm being a basic bitch. I get it. I'm being a basic bitch, but this is fun, and I don't like it. Anyway, I'm not gonna continue with that. So the main thing about this deck is to get your cells out as quick as possible. That's the reason for the cell birth. And on the mid game / late game, you're still gonna have these options throughout. But you just gotta have to play it carefully and play it early. Now, the first thing is Cell's Birth. So if you didn't know, it is a field card. It doesn't go away until you activate it. And if your cell leader is, if your leader is Cell, all of your energy all the cells in your hand, its energy is reduced by 2. So that means you can play this man for a 1-drop. You can play this man for a 3, this man for a 3, this man for a 5, but I wouldn't really recommend that. And I think it does not affect your evolve. I'm gonna have to double check that. These are the times when people can comment and be like, nah man, it's gonna be the evolve as well. But as I understand it, it's just gonna be a regular 5-drop. Anyway, so that is very powerful because when you do play it on your first turn, most of the time you will get it. If not, you're gonna get one of these other cards where you can mulligan out and search for something else. If you don't get this, then you just use it as energy. It's just easy. It's like, oh, I got Cell's Birth, I'm gonna go ahead and use this energy. That's just easy right there. But when you do, you play this on first turn, you draw him, you play him, and if you have one of these, which you're most likely you get to play Mr. Evolving Evil Lifeform Cell for a double striker, draw, and KO card on second turn, or taking your life with a double striker, 20,000 easy on the second turn. So that is very powerful. You might be wondering, does it fall off like mid game, late game? Kind of, and that is sort of the opportunity and the thing here for this. But if you control their hand and as well as get your androids on the field correctly, that shouldn't be an issue. The one drop Jiro, you looked at the top 3, you choose an android, you can choose anybody here. There's nobody other than TN that you're not going to be able to choose because of this new super combo, and it's because it's an android. That's just ridiculous right there. If it's late game, if you get these late game, you can just pick up the android. It's crazy. Same thing for this. I'm gonna skip this one, but same thing for this. The android 20, you can choose any android from your deck after you play him, and then put it in your hand. So you can choose a missing android. You can choose a missing. I wouldn't choose these cells, but you can choose a missing cell here. You can choose a super combo. Pretty spectacular. And I only run 3 because 4 just seemed like a little too crowded. 2 doesn't seem like enough. 3 is that medium where you will be drawing it sometime or another and be able to play it turn 2 or 3 or whenever. I mean, if you play it late game and you're missing an android, boom, that's it, and you can play one of these crits. Anyway, speedy surprise attack is one of the new counters, the green counters, where you can negate the attack if your leader card is an android, which it is. You can place 1 from your hand to the drop area, and if you do choose to do so, you can choose up to 1 battle card with 3 or less and KO that card. So the reason why I only have 2 is because the way that this deck works is hand destruction. You kind of want to focus on getting your androids, all these androids, into your hand and not drop anything else. If you are controlling their hand correctly within turn 3 or 4, you shouldn't have an issue where you need a counter so much. But you most likely will need it sometime or another. But if not, then you can just place that bad boy under him, and then draw 2 more and keep it going. This is a work in progress, right? There's a couple of things in here. There's a work in progress, but this one, because it is a counter, you can bump it up to 3 or 4. I wouldn't kill you for that. Again, so this is the new super combo as of set 3, as of what, a couple weeks now. And instead of drawing 1 card, if you're 4 or less, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places it in the drop area. So let's say you get the perfect thing, and I didn't go over him for a reason, but the perfect play in which you get to attack a couple times. Let's say turn 3, they're at 7 life or 6 life, whatever they're doing with their Kabas, or whatever they're doing with their Kales and Khalifas, whatever they're doing, or even a Goku Black Deck. I don't know what to tell you, man. You get them with a full hand. They haven't really played anything, which is going to be a thing turn 2 or 3, and you end up self-awakening with him or him, and then you start super comboing. So you play the cell, the perfect 4 cell, and drops it down to 3. You play the relentless destruction mirror, and by that time, hopefully, you have 4 life, and you can go ahead and activate the super combo and bring them down to one or no cards, depending on their situation. If it is just a perfect cell and you down to 3, you play the mirror, which you overwhelm for 3, and then they drop 1 from their hand, and they have 2, and then you play a super combo, they have 1, and if you have another super combo, they have 2, and that's just a crazy combo right there. So that's very useful. Early game, late game, whatever it may be. Hopefully, one of the opportunities here, of course, is self-awakening. If you do get the TN, if you do get the power stealing cell, for again 1 drop power stealing cell, you take a life a couple times. You take 1 life here. The next turn you play the TN, you awaken, and then you go ahead and use your super combo. So there's a couple things that you can do here as far as the hand destruction. So that is very useful. As far as the combination attack, Android 14. So let's say if you didn't have any cards to use, but you do have energy as far as a cell, or you're not awakened, this man, you can get the combo for 1 energy. And if your leader card is Android, you get to KO, a battle card, and that's it. You literally paid 1 energy just to KO a battle card. It's pretty legit, especially if you do not counter, they combo with everything they got, and then you put this bad boy and you KO the attacking card. If they're not smart as far as attacking with their leader and then comboing, they just wasted all their combos and it's negated. So it's pretty legit, pretty OP when it comes to certain things. A lot of people hate this card when I played against them. They're like, of course you do have that. So that's really what it's about, is for this whole thing, KOing and hand destruction. So it's pretty crazy. Going life for cell. This is for the cell chain. So you place 1 Android 17 and then choose a 5 or less from your deck who is a cell, which would be these two, right? So this is the one where you place an 18 and you get to summon the 7-drop cell and bring him down to 3. But if you don't want to do that, you can summon this guy when you have 6 life or whatever it may be, and then take 1 from your life and then add it to your hand, and then the opponent has to choose a card from their hand and drop it into the drop area. So pretty legit, pretty good. And that's going to be the MVP for you, as well as Cell's Birth if you do have them. Turn 1, turn 2, and then choose to do whatever you want to do there. In my opinion, any card that an opponent drops from their hand is pretty devastating, because that gives them no more options, right? They don't have as many options as they did before. And then they could have used this for energy, they could have used it for the next play. And if they draw, they might draw some poop stuff, you know. These two are the androids that I picked. There are the other androids where if you drop 1 card from your hand, I do believe, might as well just go ahead and check it. Android. And no, I'm not running wow, what am I doing? No, I'm not running androids because my name is Android. That's a whole different story. But if you place 1 card from your hand in the drop area, you can choose up to 1 Android 18 in the battle area and switch it. These are more effective on the Android 18 and 17 team, in my opinion. It's, again, you don't really want to drop any cards if you do have an extra 18 or 17. So you don't really want to do that. That goes into a whole different thing, in my opinion, because they are crit, that you do reduce or negate any more cards from their life added to their hand. Not only that, but their effect is that for this one you get to summon an 18 for free if a 3 or drop, 3 or less has been placed into the drop area. It does not matter. It does not matter if it's this one because of a crit or if it's this one because of a combo. It does not matter if it's a speedy surprise attack because it does specify 3 or less. It doesn't matter if it's a TN KOing it. It doesn't matter if it's a power stealing cell from their hand to the drop area. It's going to be activated and you get to play the 18 for free. But will you? I found myself using them a lot for the cell chain and just summoning the cell chain early on. But later on into the game, because you do have these guys double striking and then super comboing, you get to activate that effect with 1 energy on your turn, because it is activate main, and do it that way. And then for this one, if it's 4 or more been placed in the drop area, you get to KO somebody with 3 or less. So most likely, if you are going to play turn 4 or 5, you're going to be playing this guy, and then see if you can get a crit off, or a super combo, or whatever it may be during that situation. Activate the effect for 1, and then summon the 18 for free. So pretty sweet. Chilling Terror is Android 17. A lot of people do not like this card. With the new set 3 leaders, because you do activate 2, I think it's gonna be a little less prominent. But they cannot draw cards when their leader activates. So that is pretty legit. Another way to limit their hand and their draw power, and it's pretty sweet. So that kind of speaks for itself. Now, you might be thinking, why don't I play Android 17 and 18? If I play Android 17 and 18, I get rid of Cell's Birth. I probably switch up these two, or I mix up with them both. This guy is a 2-drop on Android 17 and 18, and you get to play that guy for, if you're awakened at 6, by the way, he has a 20,000 2-drop, and they can't awaken and draw 2. That is just crazy. That's a whole different thing, a whole different way of aggroing and playing the deck. So I might make another video when I do build that deck, but for now, this is going to be what I run. Anyway, Martial Expert Tien Shinhan. Pretty cool that they bundle it off the show, because every time I take 1 life from my drop area, which it does, and then or to the drop area, which it does, and then 1 card to your life and add to your hand, I feel like I'm doing the Triforce Beam once and then twice, and then I kind of feel it because it's coming from my life. I'm like, was that the best choice? So when you're at 6, you know, if you want to play it early on, you can, so that way you can kind of get one of these guys or one of these guys and start the cell chain. You can do that. I mean, this is a great way to do it. You just got to be careful with that first one you drop in the drop area. But it does help with Mura to build it up a little bit more. But it does cost 2 to combo, 2 energy to combo, and then you get to play this card from your hand, basically. So at the end of the battle, after you combo this card and they're done with it, you get to play them, and then you get to activate the effect. Get 2 more cards, or 1 more card, and then self-awaken. I already explained these guys, but you put a Android 18 underneath and you get to summon the cell over here. But he does have double strike. He's 20,000, and when you play with Union, which you're going to be doing 80% of the time, you draw 1 card and then KO 1 of their cards. So pretty powerful. Same thing for this guy. Take 1 life, they discard. I threw this chick in because I wanted to keep the ratios a little bit similar. 6 androids each, and 12 in total to be able to search for over here, and just to keep the ratios a little bit better. And when it does attack a leader card, they choose 1 from their hand to drop area. Personally, I don't think there's gonna be a thing that you will kind of have a situation when you use this card. She does have double strike, you know, 20,000. If she was like a 4-drop, I think she would be a little bit better, but 5 is kind of costly. But I would probably be using her to put it under him, or to be summoning this guy right here. And of course this guy, evolve for 6, and then if your leader is android, which it is, they have to choose until there's 3 remaining in their hand. So that's the whole point of this deck. And so, okay, now you know how all the cards work, right? If you play this deck and you find the flaws, or going against different decks, right? This is a very basic deck when you kind of look at it. There's not really much surprise. The other person's gonna know, you know, what you're doing, right? And they can kind of play around it. But at the same time, can they really? Because when you start doing your combos, when you start cell chaining, when you start using your criticals, when you start using Chilling Terror, Android 17, when you start using combination attack, Android 14, is it really that predictable? Because you can kind of control the board and their hand at the same time. And the only thing that you can kind of look out for is Cold Bloodlust. Look out for barrier cards. That's incredibly annoying. And if you're gonna go against a barrier heavy deck, you're gonna have to focus on reducing their hand a lot, and playing the Android 17 and 18s. You know, get them off really quick, destroy their cards, get the 18 out, and then just do it that way. Especially if you're drawing these. If you're drawing the cells, like all these cells right here, it's gonna be very annoying because they need to be in the deck. They can't be in your hand. It's gonna be automatic energy unless you have Cell's Birth, or unless you have, you know, 6 energy to waste and play those. So definitely some flaws there. And if you start going through and being like, oh, this is too long, or this doesn't really work out, look into, you know, using Cell as a control deck, switch it and range it. as you like. Get the Android support, in my opinion, especially these super combos if you're going that route, and do it that way. Or look into the mirror leader, where it does have permanent critical as soon as you have 5 in the warp or more when it's awakened, and do it that way, and you still have the Android support. And there's a reason why the Mira it says it's green. If it's green or other ones, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. You know what I'm saying? If it's 5 or more, gains critical, and then place up to 2 cards from the top of the deck. And then on awakened side, if it's the green or yellow card in your battle area, you draw 1 card. So there's a reason for that, because of all the Android green support. So you could play that. You very well could play that. Another way that you could do is the Android 13 chain, because you are placing a card underneath this and then taking 1 out, or 2 outs, whatever. 2 out to KO a card. You can use that and only play the Android 14s and 15s underneath, put it in the drop area, and then start summoning for the Android 13, the Super Android 13. So a lot of stuff, a lot of options, a lot of cool stuff. I've talked a lot, so I don't really want to extend this any longer. But if you do agree with this deck, if you played it or something similar, let me know. If you had changes, link me your video. If you play this in tournaments, post CrossWorlds, let me know, and see, let me know what your meta is, your matchups and stuff like that. I'm definitely going to be doing other decks as soon as I build them. Android 17 and 18 is probably been the next one, and then Goku Black, and maybe even the old Double Strike Goku, which is a little bit different because I'm going to be playing red-blue with that one. So if anything, if you aren't already, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. If it's bad, good, whatever. I don't really care, man. Just get a discussion going. And thanks for watching. Later.